What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so before I get into this video, I want to give a big shout out to the brother Aram for once again showing love to the channel with the donation via the PayPal. Much respect to him for showing love to Too Raw for TV. Alright, so this is a interesting question that I got. And that was, who do I think is a better player? Bob Pettit or Kevin Durant? And I'm not going to look at any stats. I'm not going to do any of that. Depends on what you mean by better, man. I mean, some people look at skill. Look at when I say skill, they ball handling, shooting. Some people, when they think of skill, also think of athleticism, which shouldn't be part of the equation. But let's just look at it like this: quickness, speed, mobility, lateral quickness, athleticism. I haven't said that since I said it earlier. All these things go to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's taller. Kevin Durant's like 7 feet tall. I think Pettit was like 6'9" and maybe a half, or a little over 6'9" or something like that. Kevin Durant, obviously, even though Bob Pettit was a great mid-range shooter for his era, Kevin Durant's on another level when it comes to that. Kevin Durant is a great three-point shooter. There was no three-point line when Bob Pettit played. Bob Pettit was a very good free throw shooter. I think somewhere around 78, 79% maybe. Kevin Durant is an exceptional free throw shooter. 88%, I think, for his career. 88, maybe close to 89. Defense. Kevin Durant was not noted for his defensive ability. He improved a bit with the Warriors, but still, defense was never his forte. Bob Pettit was not noted for being a shutdown defender. I think the best term to use for him would be average, maybe, in that department. I don't think he was noted for being a shot blocker. I think his man-to-man defense was okay. I think he kind of had some skill at help defense. I think that was something that he was better at doing. It's similar vein to like Larry Bird. Rebounding. This is where Bob Pettit excels. Bob Pettit was an excellent rebounder, averaging 16 rebounds per game for his career. So he was a great offensive rebounder in particular. Bob Pettit would be a better post player. Even though he played in a different era, he was a better post player. Could play his back to the basket. I think Bob Pettit, had certain. I mean, he wasn't Kevin McHale, but I think he had like a basic hook shot. I think he had a little bit of a, or was it more of a? Because not a lot of. I think it's like not a sky hook, but like sort of a basic hook shot, I guess. Up and under. He had some basic moves by today's standards, but some good moves for the time. But a lot of his points came from jump shots and drives to the basket. He was very, very good, Bob Pettit, at establishing fouls and getting the defense in the foul trouble and getting to the foul line. I mean, the guy used to get to the line, I think, something around 9 to 10 times, maybe 11 times per game in his prime. So he was very, very accurate at getting to the foul line. Very efficient against the foul line. Speaking of efficiency, they both share similarities in being efficient. Um, KD is a 49.9% career shooter. KD has shot over 50% from the floor so far, 11 consecutive seasons, going back to like the 2012, 2013, I believe. KD is a 50% shooter, as I just said, a 38% career three-point shooter, and an 88% foul shooter. Uh, Bob Pettit, however, I believe, led the NBA field goal percentage a few seasons. So for the era, Bob Pettit was an even more efficient player. Even though you look at his field goal percentage today, which I think is 43.6%, you say, "Oh wow, this guy wasn't efficient at all." But that's that for the era. It'll be like Bob Pettit shooting, 60% in the '90s or something, or 70-some% today. Crazy. Um, Facilitating passing, the edge goes to Durant. Not that he's Magic Johnson, but just big men didn't really excel at that particular skill for the most part in that era. And leadership, maybe Pettit, clutch, Pettit maybe. Dominance, how dominant a player they were. I had to go with Pettit because from 1954 until 1960, maybe, Bob Pettit was the most dominant player in the NBA. Whereas I don't know if I could ever say there was any definitive time that KD was the most dominant player in the NBA. Even when he was leading the league in scoring, you still had LeBron James. Or earlier on, you had Kobe Bryant. So I could never really say he was the most dominant player in the NBA. Whereas with Bob Pettit, Pettit won 2 league MVP awards. KD won 1. Pettit Pettit is tied with Kobe for 4 All-Star Game MVPs. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's who I would ultimately. Even though they played in entirely different eras, if you're gonna go as far as who's the most dominant in each era versus how dominant they were as far as their numbers are concerned, I would have to go. I have to go with Bob Pettit. Yeah, I have to go with Bob Pettit, man. I mean, the guy averaged 26 and 16 for his career. Um, he only won 1 NBA championship, but hell, he's the only guy to beat the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals. So ultimately, yeah, I gotta go with Bob Pettit. But tell me what you guys think. And I know it's gonna sound blasphemous to some people, man, but that's why I always say Bob Pettit is being underrated, man. He's becoming extremely underrated by a lot of fans.